Thank you so much. Great to be back at the RJC. And I just want to thank everybody because I know it was a night of underwhelming performances across the country in terms of these midterm elections, but thanks to your support, the state of Florida delivered a true Republican landslide. We added 4 new Republican congressmen to the U.S. House of Representatives from the state of Florida. We secured super majorities in the Florida legislature, the most Republicans we have ever had in Florida history. We helped elect 26 new conservative school board members all across the state of Florida. And we even won the state House seat that includes Miami Beach, not typically viewed as a Republican stronghold. And because of the support of so many of you to our campaign, we delivered the greatest gubernatorial victory in the history of the state of Florida. We dominated with independent voters. We secured record margins with Hispanic voters. We swept the suburbs all across the state of Florida. Our margins with rural voters were gravity-defying. We won by double digits Miami-Dade County. We won for the first time in almost 40 years Palm Beach County. And we don't know precisely what the final number is, but we can say that we won the highest share of the Jewish vote for any Republican candidate in Florida history. And look, there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just Jewish issues, it's everything we've done. But I will say, if you look at our record on issues related to Israel and supporting the Jewish community, it is second to none. When I first became governor, one of the first things we did was fight back against Airbnb, who was discriminating against Israeli Jews, and we won that fight against Airbnb. We provided record financial support for security at Jewish day schools in Florida, and we've authorized emergency services with United Hatzalah. We've enacted enhanced and robust Holocaust education standards because we know how important that is, that we never forget. We signed legislation combating anti-Semitism. We are not going to allow the universities in the state of Florida to become hotbeds of anti-Jewish sentiment like they have all across this country. And we signed that bill on a trade mission to Israel at the American Embassy in Jerusalem. And on that trade mission, which we did, the biggest trade mission Florida's ever done, we were the first statewide elected official to do public events in Judea and Samaria. Because we understand history, we know those are thousands of years of connection to the Jewish people, and I don't care what the State Department says, they are not occupied territory, it is disputed territory. And you gotta know the history, which is one of the reasons why I was such a big advocate when I was a congressman of relocating America's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They said it would spark World War III, and they were wrong. It was the right thing to do. We also worked very hard to support recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights was the right decision to make. We opposed vociferously the Obama-Khamenei-Iran nuclear deal, and we oppose any attempt by the Biden regime to reinstitute that or to do anything to help the Iranian regime. We were fortunate to be, when we did the trade mission to Israel, we brought people who had never been before. And I think those of you who've been able to take people for the first time, it's a unique experience because you're talking about thousands of years of history. A lot of the things people study comes to life. On one of the trips we took many years ago, my wife and I, Casey, who's actually here backstage, we happen to have a very good first lady in the state of Florida. She got brought home with us, and we didn't have kids at the time. She brought home with us water from the Sea of Galilee, and the purpose was to use that to baptize any of the kids that we were planning on having. And so we brought the water back, had our daughter in 2016, did the baptism, used the water, worked very well. And this is just in like a normal plastic water bottle. My son is born in 2018 during the Govenor campaign. Well, we were busy, so we said we got to get through the campaign. We'll do the baptism after that. Why not just do it on the day of the inauguration? So we went after I got inaugurated, January 2019, went back to the governor's mansion, did his baptism with the water from the Sea of Galilee. However, we were not used to people picking up behind us. So we're here. We left a plastic bottle half filled with water out. We end up going to the inaugural ball. The next morning I wake up, I ask my wife, where is the Sea of Galilee water? I looked downstairs, there was no plastic water bottles left. It was dispensed with, which was fine. Well, about a week or two later, I happened to be down doing an event with some of the Jewish community in Boca Raton. We went outside the synagogue after we had our meeting, and I announced in front of the cameras, we don't have a bun in the oven, but we are out of water from the Sea of Galilee. So if we have another one, we're going to need it. Within 24 hours, there were people in Israel digging in the Sea of Galilee, sending water back. And I wasn't going to leave it in like a little Zephyr Hills bottle. We had it in a nice big glass jar, sat on my desk in the state capitol, and we had our third child in March of 2020, and I did not touch that water until we used it for her baptism a few months later. So I think what the election results in Florida show is, Florida really has a blueprint for success. And I think some of the things that we do that work are, we're all about exercising leadership and delivering results for the people that we represent. I did not take any polls when I became governor all the way through this entire term. The job of a leader is not to stick your finger in the wind and try to contort yourself to wherever public opinion may be trending on one given moment. No, the job of a leader is to set out a vision, to execute that vision, to show people that it's the right vision, and to deliver concrete results. And when you do that, the people respond. And boy, on November 8th, did they ever respond in the state of Florida. And so if you think about some of the things that we do that maybe some others don't, I was up campaigning for Lee Zeldin, who did a great job. Tough state, very tough state. Honestly, if so many Republicans hadn't moved to Florida over the last 4 years, he probably could have won. That's just the nature of it. So if you compare New York to Florida, they have we have millions of more people in Florida now than in New York, yet their budget is over twice the size of our budget in Florida. But when New Yorkers move down, they'll tell me, man, your roads are better, infrastructure's better, services are better, and we have higher performing K-12 and higher education public as well, and we have no income tax, second lowest tax burden in the country, record $22 billion surplus. They tax people and tax people and tax. Where is all the money going that they're doing? We respect taxpayers in the state of Florida. We want people to succeed. We're happy to have people come and start businesses. That's why we've led the country in the last few years in new business formations, many more than California, who's twice our size in terms of population. people understand about good management. And then just think about, we had a major hurricane come through in September, Hurricane Ian. We had 42,000 linemen stationed before landfall to help restore power. Millions of people had power knocked out, and it was the fastest power restoration after a major hurricane in Florida history. We had search and rescue launched immediately, thousands of rescue missions done within a matter of days. But one of the things that happened was the storm knocked out a bridge going to an island called Pine Island, and it knocked out the causeway in Sanibel in 3 different locations. Now, these were not state bridges, they're not state roads, but they came to me and said, can you help? And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna help. So we looked at the bridge and we said, okay, what are our options? No red tape, no bureaucracy, get it done, time is of the essence. We undertook the mission. 3 days later, we reconnected the bridge and opened it back to Pine Island. Now, if you think some of these other states that are always bogged down in bureaucracy and red tape would have been able to get that bridge up and running in 3 days, I got oceanfront property in Arizona I would like to sell you, so please come talk to me. Of course that wouldn't happen. And then, if you look at what happened on election week, the day before the election, I had to declare a state of emergency because we had a hurricane approaching Florida, which became Hurricane Nicole. So we declared the state of emergency. Local counties start to prepare for impact. We conduct the election the next day on the Tuesday, count like 7.7 million votes, report all the results out. Wednesday, I'm in the Emergency Operations Center. Storm comes Wednesday night, Thursday morning, does damage. We have a coastal highway, A1A, that was knocked out in 3 different counties in different parts. We sent emergency crews to do emergency repairs. By Saturday afternoon, all the roads had been repaired. And a lot of these states still haven't finished counting their votes from the election. What kind of a system is that? We know how many people have voted when the polls close. We know how many votes are outstanding. You count the votes, you report the results, and then you move on. You don't take a week to count. You don't have dumps coming in where you don't even know where these votes came from. So if people want to know how to conduct elections, look what Florida does. We've made ballot harvesting a 3rd-degree felony in Florida. We've banned Zuckerbucks in the state of Florida. We have an elections crime unit now so that if you're voting illegally, you will actually be prosecuted, and people have been brought up on charges who voted and weren't even American citizens. And so that's the things you need to do, and so I hope some of these other people get with the program. But here's the deal. If they have ballot harvesting, then Republicans need to do this too. You can't just let them do it and then us sit there with 2 hands tied behind our back. So whatever the rules are, take advantage of that. Now, one of the reasons why Florida's done well is because over the last few years, we stood out as the free state of Florida. We refused to let the state of Florida descend into some type of Faucian dystopia where people's freedoms were curtailed and their livelihoods were destroyed. No, we believed in lifting people up. We believed in protecting rights. We believed in saving thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs, saving businesses, and making sure the kids could go in school. Now, every decision we made on that, we were attacked by corporate media in Florida and throughout the country and even throughout the world. We were attacked by the left. We were attacked by the Democratic Party. But you know, the job of a leader is to take the arrows so that his people doesn't have to. So I always said throughout all that, I am much more worried about protecting the jobs of the people that I represent than I'm worried about saving my own. Let the politics sort itself out. I am totally fine with receiving this incoming fire because I'm standing for the people that I represent, and I am saving their jobs, their businesses, and their kids' education. And that is the most important thing to do. So we attracted people from all over the country and all over the world. We were a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. We were the nation's citadel of freedom. Indeed, we had people come from other countries, Canada, Australia, just wanting to come to Florida. When they left some of those restrictive jurisdictions, they felt like it was arriving in West Berlin from East Berlin. It was that dramatic. And we are happy to have done that. We banned vaccine passports in the state of Florida. We refused to let anybody lose their job over a decision to take a COVID shot, and we passed legislation to protect, and we also prohibited any mandates for COVID shots on school children. That is a parent's decision. It cannot be mandated. So we had to make decisions. Others had to make decisions. The state of Florida, we chose freedom over Fauciism, and we are better off for having done that. We also have chosen law and order over rioting and disorder. When you had the riots break out, I called out the National Guard immediately in the state of Florida. We had state law enforcement ready to go. We were not going to let the state of Florida burn to the ground like so many other cities across this country. We made sure to enact legislation thereafter that prohibits local governments from defunding the police in the state of Florida. And in fact, we're funding and then some. We're making sure that if people are engaged in rioting and looting and that type of conduct, they're not getting treated like they do in Portland, where they get a slap on the wrist and they get put right back on the street. In Florida, you do that, you're not getting a slap on the wrist. You are getting the inside of a jail cell, because we are going to hold you accountable for your conduct. We reject prosecutors who get elected and then pick and choose which laws they want to enforce. And we've seen this in Los Angeles. We've seen it in San Francisco. We've seen it in Manhattan. And in Florida, when we had a prosecutor say he wasn't going to enforce laws he didn't like, I removed him from his post. The state of Florida has chosen education over indoctrination. We believe in supporting the rights of parents to play a fundamental role in the education and upbringing of their children. We support parental choice in education and have expanded private scholarships to almost 200,000 students throughout the state of Florida, the most in the United States. We reject having our schools be a tool for ideology, and therefore have banned critical race theory in our K-12 schools. We are not going to use tax dollars to teach our kids to hate this country or to hate each other. No, we are going to teach about the United States Constitution. We're going to teach about the Bill of Rights. We're going to teach kids what it means to be an American, but we're going to teach the truth, and we're going to teach accurate history. We also are going to stand with parents so that what's being taught in the kids' schools is appropriate for the ages. And we have had the fight to ban gender ideology in our elementary schools. It is wrong to teach a kid that they were born in the wrong body. It's wrong to teach a kid that their gender is a choice. And in the state of Florida, that will not happen. And even when you have the granddaddy of them all, Walt Disney Company, opposing us, we didn't back down, because we stand up for the rights of parents in Florida. We're not kowtowing to woke corporations. And the whole idea that you'd even be talking about things like gender ideology really shows the effects of what I call the woke mind virus that's running wild throughout so many institutions in society. I had to sign a bill in 2021. I'm happy to do it, but I had to sign legislation protecting women's athletics in the state of Florida. It's the right thing to do. How is it that you have someone that will compete on the men's swim team for 3 seasons, then switch to the women's and somehow win the national championship for the women's? That is unfair to those women athletes who are training. They deserve an equal opportunity. And in Florida, that's exactly what they're going to get. We reject woke ideology in the state of Florida, and we will fight it. in the classrooms. We will fight it in the corporations. We will fight it in the halls of the legislature. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. The state of Florida is where woke goes to die. What we've shown in Florida is you can stand up for truth, you can stand on principle, you can fight the woke elite, and you can win. And I think this is important because the survival of the American experiment requires a revival of the enduring American principles that make this country unique. And Florida's formula is everything we do is rooted in those founding principles of our country. We douse it with a very heavy dose of common sense, which is in very short supply nowadays. And we buttress that with having the courage to lead on issues where you know you may get incoming fire. But that's the price of leadership nowadays. Anything you do that's meaningful, you are going to have people that are going to shoot at you. They're going to take pot shots at you. They're going to criticize you. They're going to smear you. You got to be willing to stand strong. You got to be willing to take those hits and keep on going. And that's what we do in Florida each and every day. I don't think you can ever find a governor in history that has been attacked more than me for standing up for what's truth. But guess what? When you stand up for what's right, when you show people you're willing to fight for them, they will walk over broken glass barefoot to come vote for you. And that's exactly what they did for me on November 8th in record numbers. But what we've shown is people respond to strong leadership. If you look at our election results, we had the biggest election margin, 1.5 million votes, that any governor has had in the history of the state of Florida. If you look at who we were winning across the board. You don't get that type of victory only getting Republicans. What we did is we had a great Republican turnout, very energized base of supporters, but we also decisively won the middle. We won more Democrats than any governor has done for a long time. We were winning people regardless of these boxes that the media always wants to put people in. We treated people as individuals and as fellow Americans, and they responded. So you can be strong, you can get things done, and you can attract a huge, huge coalition. Because I think most people realize there's a lot that's gone wrong in our country, particularly over the last 2 years. Florida really is showing a way out of this morass and this mess. But you got to be willing to do it, and you got to be successful in implementing it. And in times like these, there is no substitute for victory. We in Florida are the light. Freedom will reign supreme with Florida leading the way. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. We've accomplished more over a 4-year period than anybody thought possible. But I can tell you this, we've got a lot more to do, and I have only begun to fight. Thank you all. God bless you. Thanks so much. Thank you.